Torii Rowe coming in here, infamous D2C brand founder, actually police officer turned D2C founder, paid media buyer, who now we all know is running things up and to the right for some of the coolest brands on the internet over at DreamLabs. The big question is, what has he been doing? Because he's been teasing some things on the timeline that I think we're going to get some more details on. Everybody, welcome to the show, Torii Rowe of DreamLabs. Get in here, Torii. Get in here, brother. There he is.
Coach him over. Let's go.
There he is. Torii, welcome back, brother. We're glad to have you back on the show.
How we doing? Let me move this thing for you guys.
There we go, man. We're even better now. Oh, we're even better now that you're here, man. I've been seeing these tests and results, and I've been seeing like entire customer journeys being mapped, where people opted in, where they clicked, how they went, and then maybe even, I'm guessing, some predictive LTV or some looking back LTV. Torii, what has been going on over there at DreamLabs, brother? What have you guys been working up?
Yeah, I mean, I got some heat on that post. A couple people pushed back. But yeah, kind of what we're doing is, I mean, MTA has been around a long time. So we're not creating an MTA. So everybody's like, why is this new? It's not an MTA. Not the biggest MTA fan to begin with. I think there's a lot more to what's the last touch point in this journey, what an MTA is. But basically what we're doing is, since we're an agency that owns acquisition to retention all the way through, including the customer lifetime value after subscriptions, all this kind of stuff, we're mapping the very first touch point that we have all the way to the back, right? So imagine Triple Whale had the ability to have a standardized naming convention after every single person they had on, like what they could pull in, right? The angle, like, so yeah, like Motion has tagging and stuff like that, but we're able to say like UGC, male model, 30 to 45 years old. Here's the angle. This is what we're pushing, right? We standardize that across every single client we have. So we can use that to basically pull inferences across everything, right? UGC works best in September. Images work best in November. This is what works best here. The angle before summer that is hot in apparel is this. The angle for this is that, right? So that's like the first grouping of kind of what we're doing. Now, where the mapping and identity resolution comes in, so we're working with engineers over at Pine. We're working with Snowflake and trying to do a case study with them, working with Airbyte as well. And then we're doing some, I'll hint at some stuff with Anthropic. We're not allowed to say exactly, but we're kind of working with all three of these, and they're all working together. We have engineers from Snowflake and engineers over from Airbyte, which are helping us out, which is cool. Wow. And then the team at Pine is helping us out. And so basically what we're doing is, we're trying to identify what are the touch points that relate to the highest customer lifetime value. And it's always been, hey, they bought a product, or right, the AOV is this. And those are for sure reasons why that customer lifetime is bigger. But for example, let's go back to the UGC thing.
Yeah.
If it is UGC and this angle that brought that person in, do they result in higher customer lifetime value? If they come in from paid partnership because it's not from our branded angle, do they result in customer lifetime value being higher? The pixel on the website that we're installing for everybody, what they do on the actual website, if they spend over a certain time frame on the website, if they go to the homepage and then the FAQ, does that result in a higher customer lifetime value for people?
Interesting.
So basically what we're doing is we're mapping all of this together. And then what we'll be able to say is, hey, you know, Chris comes to the website. We're like, hey, Chris did all these things. And now we can predict the customer lifetime value based on historical references that this is going to be a $350 LTV over the next 90 days, and really dial this in. And then what we do is we push that back into Meta. We're able to say we're willing to spend more money on this cohort because we know this cohort is going to do X, Y, Z, and basically predict that over and over again.
Wow. I see you, Torii. I see you.
Have you pulled any insights, hard insights out so far about, you know, those higher LTV type of customers where you see kind of the through line of they have this type of characteristic, they're doing these types of actions on site?
So the easy ones are like the historical stuff is pretty easy for us to pull once we mapped all the data, right? Now, the forward looking is where it's getting difficult, or like it's just more technical and it's over my head, to be honest, which is why we have a team of 6 engineers, is like, what are the things that are taking place on site? What are the angles that we're pushing to people that are resulting in those customers who are 30 to 45 years old spending $250 and doing XYZ to result in basically what we need them to do? So you're trying to steer people certain ways to get that customer lifetime value, where normally we're looking in the rears and saying customer lifetime value is X because they bought, whatever this was, right? And so we're trying to say, hey, if it's an angle that is problem solution oriented and backed by social proof at the 5-second mark, we can say this person will be 3 times more valuable than the person who comes in from a carousel ad.
Boy.
And so that's where we're trying to go with it and trying to figure out what that looks like. If we're able to do that accurately, and even with, I think, over 80%, let's say we're accurate with it, then what we do is we say, we need to make more ads towards this, right? And we start to produce more ads that way, right? So it helps us all the way back to the creative. Now, long story here is we'll get to the back end of this, is if we know that they're coming in from a UGC angle that is talking to let's say shoes, a foot pain angle. Instead of going to the campaigns and blasting people through this campaign experience on the email side of someone comes in, they walk through a 15-day welcome flow or, post-purchase flow. Instead, we drop them into a flow that might be 120 days long, which is a curated experience to speak to the angle which they came from, right? And so every person who comes into the brand has a curated experience no matter what timeline they come in at, right? Based on the angles that they're coming in from. So I've always hated that you go into a post-purchase flow and then you start getting blasted with campaigns that make no sense to why you just converted. Yeah. So for us, we're going to bucket these people and say, hey, speak to the issue that we solved for them for this duration of period, and we can project that customer lifetime value is going to be X.
Wow.
It seems to me, Torii, I think what you're describing here, to me, it sounds like what you're building internally for clients at DreamLabs, unless you're going to open it up to everybody. It seems like what you're building adds a level of complexity mapping that is same. It is consistent. It's the nomenclature that you would use that would allow you to track, and then allows you to do an additional 2 or 3 layers of complex, consistent, specific marketing on the back end after people buy. I have yet to hear of anybody doing this kind of thing. To me, this is totally new. I know people were saying certain things on the timeline, but to me, this sounds unique.
I've never heard of anyone do it. I know, like I said, I think a lot of people see the mapping and they're like, hey, it's an MTA. It's not. We might roll out an MTA because we have the capability to do it, just to hold it and not pay for certain stuff. But this is all going to be internal for the most part. But we talked to a advisor at Nielsen a couple of weeks ago as well. They've been around, 150 years. And he basically was like, this is something that we've never heard of.
Wow.
So as far as I know, it hasn't been done. Now, there is a large part of this. We've given ourselves 90 to 120 days to get this complete and actually have an 80% accuracy score or higher or confidence score, whatever you want to put it on. But yeah, I've never heard of anyone do it. So hopefully we're the first.
Crazy, man. I love it. I love it.
How close are you to potentially opening this up to the public? And are you thinking about doing that at all? And if so, do you have kind of a price point in mind on how you'd want to price this thing?
I don't know if we're going to open it up. I will tell you, the Nielsen advisor said if we could get it accurate, it could be more of a licensing play to people that's over $1 million a year probably. Yeah. So it's not going to be it's not going to be hey, it's $2,000. The cost just to pull this data is significant. We're in, I don't know, tens of billions of rows of data right now. So it is a significant amount of volume of what it costs. So we're betting on ourselves and betting that it's going to pull out. But if we can take this to a client and say, hey, you're going to get the same amount of orders this year, but the company's going to grow 40% based on customer lifetime value prediction, it's a complete game changer for everybody involved.
Wow.
Bananas.
I mean, a really interesting thing, and I'm sure you've probably already explored this, is going to those types of companies and then basically forecasting out fundraising. So then you make their fundraising efforts more valid because you now know
That's
who is
interesting.
coming in on what revenue level. So then now you're making their fundraising operation even tighter, which is like the juicy little side for me that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah, we have a client who's in the middle of talks with Unilever.
Yeah.
And so so that was a conversation. Unfortunately, at this time, I can't accurately tell you, hey, I'm going to be able to give you this with high confidence and say this is
Right.
accurate. But correct, 6 months down the line, I think we'll have it and we'll be able to tell you like this is worth it. And so I think from a client perspective, to like come to DreamLabs and say, hey, we're going to be able to do this for you is something that I don't know anyone else will be able to do. I think it's always been there, but it's just kind of like now piecing it all together and saying like, okay, we own acquisition to retention and past that point,
Yeah.
let's piece it all together. I think they're always treated so differently of like what acquires people and what retains people, and maybe there is a chance we're completely off and they don't have anything to do with each other. It is possible. But I would love to hear from you two, like, do you think the angle that someone comes in from an ad dictates whether they have longer customer lifetime value, whether it's a use case or whatever?
Well, I mean, here's the thing is, I mean, before this conversation, I would have no clue how to even tell you. I would
That's a good
hope
point.
so. I
Yeah.
would hope so.
Yeah.
But I would have no clue how to tell you. I would think, well, yeah, I mean, that angle probably means they're this kind of person, which means they've got more household value. They've got live in a higher socioeconomic strata, and they've got more money to spend, and et cetera. I mean, I could hypothesize, but I think the incredible thing is that there's probably really a there with these various kind of angles, different selling factor, different point of entry, what landing page you drop them on, what post-purchase flows you're giving them. That very legitimately extends LTV and wins them, endears them to the brand, to the problem solution. And I think this is great that you're now, at least you're able to see, like, is there really something there? Can we predictively, look out at LTV and say, yes, more of this kind of ad because of this historical data, et cetera. I think it's also unique, Torii, that this is happening now with you guys specifically, because my guess, prior to the development of AI and the tools and all of the things that are capable now, I'm not sure how a founder become media buyer, become agency owner. I'm not sure how this kind of organization would take on this kind of endeavor, but you're probably the most qualified ones to do it with the tools and engineering backing behind you, because you have that experience on the front side. To me, it's kind of serendipitous, the timing and the peoples that are taking this thing on. I would think that's got something to play here. Do you think so?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say I also just look at things differently. I think from an agency owner perspective is like I've sat in the founder chair, and so I understand like it's not always acquire more; it's acquire better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the easier way. And also from an agency perspective, is easier to acquire better customers than it is to acquire more customers. Right? You're taking less of the market; you're just taking the better half. Right? And so that's kind of where the way we looked at it is like, how can we, when things do get tight economically, how can we just get the best people instead of more people? And so that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
I like that.
I also really think of this angle from a SKU product perspective on product validity and SKU validity, where you can say, hey, you need to stop spending into this SKU or product because it's just not releasing a high AOV customer. We have proven this out time and time again. Here's all the data. You need to be releasing more of this type of SKU because we clearly have all the data that it is a higher LTV of a customer. So you could really use this for kind of the build out and the R&D work of actual product validity.
Yeah, and I think to that point, like if you think of a single SKU, and I always just go back to AG1 because everybody knows who they are, they're easy, right? But people come into it of like, what if you're coming in for athletic performance, or you're coming in for like health and longevity, right? Maybe you're an older demographic and you're like, hey, I want to stay as healthy as I possibly can. Do those two different people in two different angles have different customer lifetime value cohorts? I'm assuming yes, and I'm assuming that starts from the creative that is put out on the platform. Now, to your point, if it is the longevity, health, and wellness play that is a longer customer lifetime value, make more products that fit the mold for health and wellness longevity. Right now, it is currently looked at on a SKU basis of this SKU does X, but that SKU has multiple personas who come into it. We want to identify the persona that has the highest customer lifetime value, not the SKU.
Yeah, I love that.
This just it totally underlines the point for me that software and service are becoming melded together. Man and machine are becoming one. And this is the future. I mean, Sequoia, saying it's $1 trillion opportunity, sell work, sell outcomes. It totally underlines the point for me. And man, I find this very interesting.
Appreciate it.
Torii, you've got to. I've seen some other things bubbling up from you that you've got to touch on for us as well, man. I know you guys you're debuting Pepsi's, I think, their first e-com site ever coming up. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, first ever e-commerce store for Pepsi. That is timeline's probably a month out. It's hard. They're a big company, so things move a little slower over there, right? Things got to go up the ladder and back down, and it's not the fastest. But yeah, we're launching their first e-commerce company, and we're basically running it from top down. So they're like, hey, listen, this is like, they're giving us basically a specific amount of dollars, and we can run this as hard as we want as long as it's self-sustainable.
Wow. That's a big opportunity.
Yeah, no pressure on that one. Just a massive company.
No pressure on that one. I want to hear though too. You got to tell me about the Bieber effect.
The Biebs.
Biebs was just at Coachella. I think Skylark dramatically sold out everything, records and above at Coachella because of his set there. I mean, what does something like that? How does that feel on the backside? E-com, selling on the site. I mean, you guys work with them. I mean, what does a moment like that? How does that affect everything you guys are doing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with Biebs. It's like I take very little credit from this. We run ads and we do what we can do, and we obviously are bringing a lot of revenue into the marker. But it's also JB, right?
Let's go, JB. Let's go, JB.
You have something special here. The guy who plays at Coachella, it's gonna go off, right? Like he's the headliner at Coachella. But even like the Hailey Bieber drop we did, like that one was just D2C, right? And that one crushed, right? So they're killing it. And they have a very, first off, the website's incredible, the way they do things across the board, the creative that they kind of come up with, the whole concept, everything they do across the board is, top notch. And so, we're just getting to play part in the larger picture here.
That's incredible.
I would think those are the kind of clients you like to work with there. Yeah. ones that you don't have to take too much credit for. It's like, brother, get up there and rip it again at Coachella. That way we can get things up and to the right here again. I mean, that's nice, man. I mean, they're
fun.
That's going to be a great one to work with.
They're fun. They're good. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is I love working with them. I love working with Pepsi, but there is something really special. And maybe it's just because that's where my heart's at and where I came from, of taking a client who's doing 40, 50 and getting them to 100. And you really change the entire company. That's really cool. As much as I love JB, if he rips 500 million, I don't know if it changes anyone's life. That's, you know what I mean? So it's cool to see the small guys win too.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome. So much cooler is seeing those guys go and you fundamentally change their lives and all the lives of those people in that company because you are basically just taking them to the moon. Whereas JB, I mean, he's already got a jet. He's
been at the moon.
Yeah, he hangs out at the moon. I think all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, Torii, man, brother, you got to keep us up to date with what's happening with
Yeah.
this tool's called the Lab. Is that right? Is it called the Lab?
The Lab is our software platform that's
Okay.
launching internally in 2.5 weeks. So we're rolling that internally, and then external is probably 4 to 6 weeks, depending on kind of what breaks on that side. On the internal launch, this tool, as of right now, is called Clarity.
Clarity.
And so, yeah, we'll kind of see. Maybe the name changes, but as of now, it is called Clarity.
Well, man, I love what you're doing, and I hope you'll keep us up to date. You give us some more treats on the timeline, and then we'll bring you back and tell us how it's all going, man. We appreciate what you're doing and the work, and we look forward to hearing how it goes.
Awesome. Thank you guys, as always. Appreciate you too. All right.